I still remember the exact moment I shook hands with Marcus Vale. His firm grip, the way his eyes lit up when I explained the commercial property portfolio, the nod that sealed our $20 million deal. After 18 months of careful planning and late-night research, I'd finally landed the biggest client of my career at Premier Properties. My commission would be $600,000. $600,000 that would change my life forever. I'd worked 60-hour weeks for 5 years, building relationships, studying market trends, perfecting my pitch. This deal was my masterpiece. Walking back to the office, I felt like I was floating. My phone buzzed with congratulations from other agents who'd heard the news. Even the receptionist smiled wider than usual. But as I approached my boss Trevor Kane's corner office, something felt wrong. His door was closed, and I could hear muffled voices inside. Through the glass, I saw Trevor gesturing wildly to his son Danny, who worked as our junior agent. They both looked tense, almost angry. When Trevor noticed me watching, he quickly turned away. A chill ran down my spine, but I pushed the feeling aside. Nothing could ruin this moment. I knocked on his door, ready to share the good news officially. "Come in, Natalie," Trevor called out, his voice strangely flat. Danny was still there, arms crossed, wearing that smug expression I'd grown to hate over the past year. He always acted like he owned the place just because his daddy was the boss. "Trevor, I've got incredible news," I started, but he held up his hand to stop me. "Actually, we need to talk. Sit down." His tone made my stomach drop. This wasn't how I'd imagined celebrating the biggest deal of my career. Danny leaned against the wall, smirking. "Dad, should I tell her, or do you want to?" Trevor shot his son a warning look. "I'll handle this." He turned to me with cold eyes. "Natalie, there's been a problem with your recent contractor relationships. We've received reports about inappropriate payments." My mouth fell open. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb," Danny interrupted. "We know you've been taking kickbacks from Wilson Construction. The building inspectors confirmed it." I felt the room spinning. This was insane. I'd never taken a bribe in my life. "That's completely false." "I can prove. The evidence is clear," Trevor said, sliding a folder across his desk. "We have no choice but to terminate your employment immediately." My hands shook as I opened the folder. Inside were bank statements showing deposits I'd never made, signed receipts with my forged signature, and inspector reports claiming I'd received improper payments. Everything looked official, but I knew it was fake. "This is all fabricated," I whispered, staring at the documents. "Trevor, you know me. I would never." "The investigation is complete," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Security will escort you out. You have 15 minutes to pack your desk." Danny pushed off the wall, grinning now. "Don't worry about the Vale deal, Natalie. I'll make sure Marcus gets the attention he deserves." The way he said it made me realize what was really happening. They were stealing my client, my commission, my entire career. "You planned this," I said, standing up slowly. "You waited until I closed the deal, then framed me so you could take the commission." Trevor's face hardened. "That's a serious accusation. I'd be careful what you say next." But I wasn't scared anymore. I was furious. "You're making a huge mistake, Trevor. This won't end the way you think it will." He laughed coldly. "Security is waiting outside. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." The security guard was polite but firm as he followed me to my desk. Other agents stared in shock as I packed my personal items into a cardboard box. Some whispered among themselves, clearly confused about what was happening. My assistant Maya rushed over, her eyes wide with concern. "Natalie, what's going on? Everyone's saying you were fired, but that can't be true." "It's true," I said quietly, not wanting to cause a scene. "But not for the reasons they're telling people." She glanced around nervously, then leaned closer. "I saw Trevor and Danny going through your files yesterday after you left. I thought it was weird, but I didn't want to say anything." My heart pounded. "What exactly did you see?" Trevor had a stack of papers, and Danny was making copies of everything. They were looking for something specific. Maya's voice dropped to a whisper. "There's something else. Trevor's been staying late every night, going through the client accounts. I think he's in some kind of trouble." The security guard cleared his throat. "Ma'am, we need to finish up." I grabbed Maya's hand. "Keep your eyes open. There's more going on here than anyone realizes." As I walked toward the elevator, I noticed Trevor watching from his office window. He thought he'd won, but this was just the beginning. That night, I sat in my apartment staring at the business card Trevor had thrown in my box. It was crumpled and torn, but I could still read the name. Isabel Santos, attorney at law. I remembered her now, Trevor's ex-wife from years ago. I'd heard whispers about their bitter divorce, how she'd left the real estate business afterward. But something made me keep that card. Maybe it was intuition, or maybe I was just desperate for allies. I called the number, expecting voicemail. Instead, a sharp voice answered immediately. Isabel Santos speaking. Miss Santos, this is Natalie Cross. I used to work for Trevor Kane, she finished. I know who you are. He fired you today, didn't he? I was stunned. How did you? Because I've been waiting for this call for 3 years. Her voice carried a mix of satisfaction and anger. Trevor made a mistake firing someone as sharp as you. He's desperate right now, which makes him sloppy. Desperate for what? Money. Trevor owes some very dangerous people a lot of cash. I'm guessing he needs your commission to stay alive. Isabel paused. Are you interested in getting your revenge, Natalie? Because I have resources he doesn't know about. My pulse quickened. I'm listening. We met at an upscale coffee shop downtown the next morning. Isabel looked exactly like I'd imagined, polished, intelligent, and carrying herself like someone who'd seen battle and survived. Her dark hair was streaked with silver, and her eyes held the sharpness of someone who trusted no one. Trevor thinks he's clever, she said, stirring her espresso. But he's actually predictable. The same patterns, the same mistakes, over and over. She pulled out a thick folder and slid it across the table. This is everything I could gather during our divorce proceedings. Financial records, client complaints, suspicious transactions. The court sealed most of it, but I kept copies. I opened the folder and gasped. Page after page showed irregular transfers, inflated appraisals, and questionable contractor relationships. This goes back years. Trevor's been running a systematic fraud operation since before we divorced. I couldn't prove it then because I was on the inside and he was careful around me. But you, Natalie, you've seen things I never could. She leaned forward intensely. He's not just stealing commissions. He's been skimming from client escrow accounts, inflating property values, and taking kickbacks from everyone in the industry. The Vail deal isn't just your commission. It's his lifeline. Why are you helping me? Isabel's smile was cold. Because Trevor destroyed my life once. Now it's time to return the favor. Armed with Isabel's information, I started making calls. My first target was Maya, who was still working inside Premier Properties. We met for lunch at a small restaurant far from the office. Trevor's been acting really strange since you left, Maya whispered, constantly checking over her shoulder. He's demanding daily updates on the Vail deal, and Danny's completely overwhelmed. He doesn't understand any of the technical details you put together. What about the other agents? They're suspicious. Everyone knows you didn't take bribes. Some of the older agents are talking about leaving. Maya pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. I took this yesterday when Trevor left his office unlocked. The image showed Trevor's desk covered in financial documents, loan papers, and what looked like legal notices. One paper was clearly visible, a demand letter from someone called Pinnacle Investment Group for $2 million. Maya, this is huge. Trevor's in deep debt, and he's using client money to cover it. Her face went pale. That's illegal, isn't it? Completely. And if Marcus Vail finds out that Trevor's been lying about the deal structure, he'll pull out entirely. I studied the photo more carefully. Can you get me copies of those documents? Maya looked terrified, but nodded. I'll try. But Natalie, if Trevor catches me, I'll lose my job too. I won't let that happen. Just be careful. The next step was approaching Marcus Vail directly. I'd built a relationship with him over 18 months, and I hoped he'd listen to reason. His assistant scheduled a private meeting at his downtown office, away from Premier Properties. Marcus was a sharp man in his 50s, built like someone who'd worked construction before making his fortune in tech. When I walked into his office, his expression was confused but curious. Natalie, I have to admit I'm surprised by your call. Trevor told me you'd left the company for personal reasons. That's not exactly true, Mr. Vail. I sat down across from his massive desk. I was fired the day after I closed our deal. Trevor claimed I'd been taking bribes, but the truth is much more complicated. His eyebrows raised. Go on. Trevor needed to remove me so he could claim credit for the deal and take my commission. But there's something else you need to know. The property values in your portfolio have been artificially inflated. I pulled out Isabel's documents, showing him the pattern of inflated appraisals across multiple deals. Trevor's been working with corrupt appraisers to overvalue properties by 15 to 20%. Your $20 million deal should have cost around $17 million. Marcus studied the papers carefully. His face grew darker with each page he turned. You're telling me Trevor Kane tried to overcharge me by $3 million? At minimum. And he's been doing this to other clients for years. Marcus set down the papers and looked at me directly. What do you propose we do about it? Marcus Val was even angrier than I'd expected. Within hours of our meeting, he was demanding answers from Trevor about the inflated appraisals. But Trevor, predictably, tried to deflect blame onto me. Marcus, you have to understand, Trevor had said during their phone call, which Marcus recorded and shared with me. Natalie was working with contractors to inflate these numbers. That's why we had to let her go. But Marcus wasn't buying it. Trevor, these documents show a pattern going back 3 years, long before Natalie handled my account. I want independent appraisals of every property, or this deal is off. The panic in Trevor's voice was obvious. Now, Marcus, there's no need for that. I can explain everything. You have 48 hours to provide documentation proving these values are legitimate. Otherwise, I'm walking away and taking my business elsewhere. When Marcus hung up, he turned to me with a grim smile. Now we wait and see how desperate he really is. Meanwhile, Maya had been feeding me information from inside the office. Trevor was working around the clock, making frantic calls to appraisers and inspectors. Danny was completely overwhelmed, making mistake after mistake with client communications. 3 agents quit yesterday, Maya reported during one of our secret meetings. They said they don't trust what's happening anymore. The pressure was building exactly as Isabel had predicted. Trevor was starting to crack. Isabel's connections in the legal world proved invaluable. She'd quietly reached out to the State Real Estate Commission, providing them with evidence of Trevor's fraudulent licenses and forged documents. She also contacted the district attorney's financial crimes unit about the escrow account irregularities. The key is timing, Isabel explained during one of our strategy sessions. We need all the pressure to hit him at once. If he has time to react and cover his tracks, he might escape. That's when Maya provided the breakthrough we needed. She'd managed to photograph Trevor's private notebook, the one he thought no one knew about. The images she sent me made my blood run cold. Page after page detailed his embezzlement scheme. Client names, dollar amounts, transfer dates, everything. He'd been skimming from escrow accounts for over 4 years, taking small amounts that clients wouldn't immediately notice. But the most damning entry was recent. Val commission, $600K covers Pinnacle debt, must eliminate NC before closing. NC was me, Natalie Cross. Trevor had planned my termination weeks in advance, timing it perfectly to steal my commission and cover his gambling debts. This is it, Isabel said when I showed her the photos. This is enough to destroy him completely. But Trevor wasn't going down without a fight. Maya's next message sent chills down my spine. Trevor knows someone's been watching him. He's getting paranoid and suspicious. I think I'm in danger. Maya's fear turned out to be justified. Trevor had installed security cameras throughout the office and was monitoring everyone's computer activity. He'd also hired a private investigator to follow his own employees, convinced that someone was leaking information. But Maya was smarter than Trevor gave her credit for. She'd been documenting everything from her personal phone, using it to photograph documents when Trevor wasn't around. Her dedication to uncovering the truth amazed me. I found something else, she whispered during a tense phone call. Trevor's wife doesn't know about his gambling problem. She thinks their money problems are just temporary business issues. This was interesting. Trevor had always presented himself as a family man, but Isabel had hinted at his secret life. What else did you discover? He's been maintaining an apartment across town under a fake name. I followed him there yesterday during lunch. There were two women going in and out, and they didn't look like business associates. Maya had uncovered Trevor's double life. The expensive mistresses, the secret gambling habits, the hidden apartment. All of it funded by stolen client money. Maya, this is dangerous. If Trevor realizes what you're doing. I know. But I can't let him destroy more people's lives. You trusted me with the truth, and I won't let you down. Her courage gave me strength. We were building a case that would expose every aspect of Trevor's corruption. The pressure was getting to Trevor. According to Maya, he'd been staying at the office until midnight every night, making increasingly desperate phone calls. His private investors were demanding payment. His wife was asking questions about their finances, and Marcus Vale was threatening to walk away from the deal. That's when Trevor made his biggest mistake. In a desperate attempt to cover his tracks, he tried to forge my signature on documents that would make me liable for his escrow theft. But Isabel had anticipated this move. Weeks earlier, she'd connected me with a handwriting expert who documented my real signature and taught me how to spot forgeries. When Trevor's fake documents appeared in my personnel file, we were ready. This is perfect, the handwriting expert explained, comparing Trevor's forgery to my authentic signatures. Not only is this clearly fraudulent, but the pressure patterns show he was trying to copy from a template. This proves premeditation. Meanwhile, Marcus Vale was losing patience. He'd hired his own appraiser, who confirmed that the property values were inflated by exactly the amount I'd predicted. Marcus was furious. Trevor's been calling me every hour, Marcus told me during one of our secret meetings. He's offering to reduce his commission, provide additional services, anything to keep the deal alive. He's desperate. How desperate? Desperate enough to make me an offer I can't refuse. He's agreed to reduce the total price by $2.5 million, just to keep me from walking away. This confirmed everything. Trevor was so deep in debt that he'd rather make almost nothing on the deal than lose it entirely. With Isabel's backing and Marcus Vale's support, I was ready to launch my counterattack. We decided to hit Trevor on multiple fronts simultaneously: legal, financial, and professional. First, I officially launched Cross Properties, my own real estate firm. Isabel provided the startup capital, and Marcus agreed to be my first official client. The message was clear. I wasn't just seeking revenge. I was building something better. Then we started recruiting. I reached out to the most talented agents at Premier Properties, the ones who'd grown tired of Trevor's shady practices. Within a week, 5 agents had submitted their resignations and joined my firm. The exodus sent shockwaves through Premier Properties. Trevor was hemorrhaging talent and losing clients simultaneously. His carefully constructed empire was crumbling. Maya reported that Trevor was becoming increasingly unhinged. He's been screaming at everyone, accusing people of betraying him. He's even suspicious of Danny now. What about Danny? He's trying to distance himself from his father. I think he realizes how bad this looks for his own career. The family dynamics were fracturing along with the business. Trevor's desperation was alienating everyone around him, even his own son. But the biggest blow came when Marcus Vale made a public announcement. After discovering irregularities in Premier Properties business practices, I'm moving all my real estate business to Cross Properties, effective immediately. Trevor's $20 million deal was officially gone. Trevor's financial situation collapsed faster than anyone expected. The private investors he owed money to weren't patient people. When he couldn't make his $2 million payment, they started seizing his assets. Isabel and I attended the foreclosure auction of Trevor's personal properties. Watching him lose his dream lake house, the one he'd bought with stolen client money, felt like poetic justice. Lot 47, luxury lakefront property, 4,200 square feet, private dock, the auctioneer announced. Trevor stood in the back of the room, his face pale and defeated. Isabel raised her paddle calmly. 50,000. Other bidders jumped in, but Isabel had done her research. She knew exactly how much to bid to get the property for a fraction of its value. When the gavel fell, she'd bought Trevor's house for $180,000, about 1/5 of what he'd paid for it. Trevor stumbled out of the auction house without saying a word. But his humiliation was just beginning. The next day, The State Real Estate Commission announced they were investigating Premier Properties for fraudulent practices. The district attorney's office confirmed they were reviewing evidence of embezzlement and forgery. Trevor's professional license was suspended pending investigation. Premier Properties' doors were locked by court order. And Maya finally felt safe enough to come forward as a witness. "I have everything," she told the investigators. "Photos, documents, recorded conversations. Trevor Kane has been running a criminal enterprise." The criminal trial became the talk of the real estate industry. Victim after victim testified about Trevor's fraudulent practices, his inflated appraisals, his stolen commissions. The evidence was overwhelming. I served as the prosecution's key witness, presenting the meticulous documentation I'd gathered with Isabel's help. The jury listened intently as I explained how Trevor had systematically defrauded clients for years. "Mr. Kane didn't just steal my commission," I testified. "He betrayed the trust of every client who believed he was acting in their best interests. He turned our industry into his personal ATM machine." Trevor's defense attorney tried to paint me as a disgruntled employee seeking revenge, but the financial evidence spoke for itself. Bank records, forged documents, recorded phone calls, everything confirmed the prosecution's case. The most damaging testimony came from Maya, who documented Trevor's crimes in real time. Her photos of his private notebook were particularly devastating. When Trevor finally took the stand, his story fell apart under cross-examination. He claimed he was just a middleman, that other people had committed the actual crimes. But his own handwriting was on too many documents. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts: fraud, embezzlement, forgery, and elder abuse. We discovered he'd been stealing from his own mother's trust fund. Trevor was sentenced to 12 years in prison and ordered to pay $8 million in restitution to his victims. While investigators worked to recover Trevor's hidden assets, Cross Properties was thriving beyond my wildest dreams. Within 6 months, we'd become the city's premier luxury real estate agency. Marcus Vail's endorsement had opened doors I never could have imagined. His network of wealthy tech entrepreneurs became my client base, bringing deals worth over $100 million in potential business. The media attention didn't hurt either. Business magazines featured me as the whistleblower who cleaned up real estate. My story inspired other agents to come forward about corruption in their own firms. But the most satisfying moment came when I helped investigators track down Trevor's offshore accounts. He'd hidden nearly $3 million in banks across 3 countries, money stolen from clients over the years. Every recovered dollar went to his victims. I finally received my original $600,000 commission, plus damages for emotional distress and lost opportunities. Maya became my right-hand person at Cross Properties, running operations with the same attention to detail she'd shown while helping expose Trevor's crimes. Isabel joined our board of directors, providing legal oversight and strategic guidance. "You know what the best part is?" Isabel said during one of our monthly board meetings. "Trevor used to say that nice people finish last in real estate. Turns out he was wrong." My annual income now exceeded $2 million, all earned honestly through hard work and ethical practices. The final twist in Trevor's story came during the asset recovery process. While reviewing his seized properties, investigators discovered something shocking. Trevor had been laundering money through a trust fund belonging to his elderly mother. Eleanor Kane, Trevor's 80-year-old mother, had been living in a rundown nursing home while Trevor stole her $15 million inheritance to fund his fraud scheme. She had dementia, and Trevor had been using her condition to cover his crimes. When I learned about Eleanor's situation, I couldn't stay silent. Despite everything Trevor had done to me, seeing an elderly woman victimized by her own son was heartbreaking. I visited Eleanor at her nursing home. She was tiny and frail, but her eyes still held intelligence during her moments of clarity. "You're the woman Trevor talks about," she said during one of our conversations. "He says you tried to hurt him. Mrs. Kane, I need to tell you the truth about what your son has been doing." Over several visits, I explained how Trevor had forged her power of attorney documents and stolen her life savings. During her lucid moments, Eleanor was devastated but not entirely surprised. "Trevor was always selfish," she whispered. Even as a child, he took things that weren't his. Eleanor had been secretly recording Trevor's visits for months, documenting his lies about her mental state and his plans to have her declared incompetent permanently. Eleanor's recordings were the final nail in Trevor's coffin. During his sentencing hearing, she appeared in court, the first time she'd seen her son in over a year. "Your Honor," Eleanor said in a shaky but determined voice, "my son told me I was too sick to remember things. But I remember everything. I remember him taking my money. I remember him lying to doctors about my condition. I remember him planning to put me away forever so no one would know what he'd done." The judge added elder abuse charges to Trevor's conviction, extending his prison sentence. Trevor broke down completely when he realized his own mother had turned against him. "Mom, please," he begged from the defendant's table. "I was trying to protect you." Eleanor looked at him with a mixture of sadness and disgust. "You were trying to protect yourself, Trevor. You always were." The courtroom was silent as Eleanor was helped back to her wheelchair. She'd traveled 2 hours from her nursing home just to ensure justice was served. After the hearing, I helped Eleanor move to a much better care facility, one funded by the recovery of her stolen inheritance. She smiled when I visited her there. "That woman who used to work for Trevor," she said to the nurse, "she's a good person. Not like my son." 5 years have passed since Trevor fired me to steal my commission. Premier Properties is now a cautionary tale taught in real estate ethics courses. Trevor remains in prison, working in the laundry for 25 cents an hour. Cross Properties employs over 200 people and has revolutionized industry practices in our city. We've implemented transparent pricing, independent oversight, and victim advocacy programs that other firms have adopted nationwide. I've helped recover over $50 million for fraud victims through our whistleblower assistance program. Maya runs our ethics compliance department, ensuring we never repeat the mistakes that destroyed Trevor's empire. Isabel serves as our general counsel and has become one of my closest friends. Her experience surviving Trevor's betrayal taught her lessons that now protect countless clients from similar fraud. Marcus Vale remains one of our biggest supporters, not just as a client, but as an advocate for industry reform. His $20 million deal, the one that started everything, seems small compared to the ethical empire we've built from the ashes of Trevor's corruption. Last week, I received a letter from Trevor in prison. His handwriting was shaky, his tone desperate. "Natalie, I know you probably hate me, but I need you to know I'm sorry. I was in over my head with debts and bad decisions. I never meant for things to go so far. My mother won't take my calls anymore. My wife divorced me and took the kids. Danny changed his last name and won't speak to me. I have nothing left. I heard about your success, and I'm genuinely happy for you. You deserved better than what I did to you. I hope someday you can forgive me." I stared at that letter for a long time. Part of me felt sorry for him. He'd lost everything and everyone he'd ever cared about. But another part remembered the smug look on his face when he fired me, the way he'd planned to destroy my career for his own gain. I didn't reply to his letter. Some betrayals are too deep for forgiveness, even when the person seems genuinely remorseful. Instead, I donated another $100,000 to Eleanor's care facility in her son's name. She's doing well there, and though her memory fades a little more each month, she always remembers me as the nice woman who helped get my money back. The real estate industry looks very different now than it did when I worked for Trevor. Regulatory oversight has increased dramatically, partially due to the attention our case brought to systemic problems. I'm frequently invited to speak at industry conferences about ethics and fraud prevention. My standard opening line always gets attention. 5 years ago, my boss fired me to steal my commission on a $20 million deal. Today, I want to tell you how that betrayal changed everything. Young agents approach me after these speeches, sharing their own stories of workplace corruption and asking for advice. I always tell them the same thing. Document everything, build alliances, and never underestimate the power of doing the right thing. Maya often joins me at these events, sharing her perspective as someone who risked her job to expose the truth. The hardest part wasn't gathering evidence, she tells audiences. It was finding the courage to use it. Our story has been featured in business schools as a case study in corporate whistleblowing. Students analyze our strategy, our timing, our use of legal and media pressure to force accountability. But for me, the most important lesson isn't about revenge or justice. It's about the choice we all face when confronted with corruption. Look the other way, or stand up and fight. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd accepted Trevor's betrayal quietly, taken a job somewhere else, and moved on with my life. I probably would have been fine. I'm good at what I do, and there's always demand for skilled real estate agents. But staying silent would have meant Trevor continued victimizing other people. More agents would have lost their commissions. More clients would have been overcharged. More elderly people like Eleanor would have had their savings stolen. The $600,000 commission Trevor stole from me seemed huge at the time. Now it's just a footnote in a much larger story about accountability and change. Cross Properties generates over $50 million in annual revenue, all built on the foundation of trust and transparency that Trevor's corruption taught me to value. We've created hundreds of jobs and helped thousands of families buy and sell homes ethically. Isabel often reminds me that revenge is a dish best served cold, but I don't think of our success as revenge anymore. It's transformation, taking something ugly and broken and rebuilding it into something beautiful and strong. Trevor thought firing me would eliminate a problem and secure his future. Instead, it created his biggest nightmare and launched my greatest success. Last month, I received an unexpected visitor at my office. Danny Kane, Trevor's son, had requested a meeting. I almost declined. I had no desire to rehash old grievances with Trevor's family. But curiosity won out. Danny looked older than his 28 years, wearing an inexpensive suit and carrying himself with none of the arrogance I remembered. "Miss Cross," he began nervously, "I know you have no reason to hear me out, but I needed to apologize for my role in what happened to you." I studied his face, looking for signs of deception or manipulation. All I saw was genuine remorse. "I was young and stupid," he continued. "I thought working for my father would be easy money. I didn't understand what he was really doing until it was too late." Danny explained that he'd been working as a junior agent at a small firm across town, slowly rebuilding his reputation after the scandal destroyed his career prospects. "I've learned everything the hard way," he said. "How to actually serve clients, how to build trust, how to succeed without cheating people." I listened to his story without interrupting. When he finished, I made him an offer that surprised us both. Cross Properties is always looking for honest agents who've learned from their mistakes. If you're interested in proving you've changed, we have an entry-level position available. Danny's addition to our team was controversial. Some employees questioned whether we could trust Trevor Kane's son. Others worried about the media attention it might bring. But Maya, surprisingly, was his strongest advocate. "If we really believe in second chances and redemption," she argued, "then we have to give him the opportunity to prove himself." Danny started at the bottom, cold calling prospects, scheduling showings, doing paperwork for senior agents. He never complained about the menial tasks or asked for special treatment because of his last name. Slowly, he earned his colleagues' respect through hard work and genuine dedication to client service. His first solo sale was a modest $300,000 home for a young couple, but he was prouder of that deal than Trevor had ever been of his million-dollar schemes. "I finally understand what you meant about building something honest," Danny told me after his first successful closing. "It feels completely different from what my father was doing." 6 months later, Danny was consistently meeting his sales targets and receiving positive client feedback. He'd found his own path in the industry, one based on integrity rather than manipulation. His transformation reminded me why we'd started Cross Properties in the first place, to prove that success and ethics weren't mutually exclusive. Today, Cross Properties is recognized as the most trusted real estate firm in the state. We've handled over $2 billion in transactions, all conducted with complete transparency and client advocacy. I keep Trevor's termination letter framed in my office, not as a reminder of his betrayal, but as proof of how far we've come. The $20 million deal that started everything seems insignificant now compared to the ethical empire we've built. Eleanor Kane passed away peacefully last year at the age of 85. She spent her final years in comfort, surrounded by people who cared about her well-being rather than her bank account. I spoke at her funeral, sharing stories about her sharp wit and fierce determination to see justice served. Trevor remains in prison with 7 years left on his sentence. I heard through mutual contacts that he's become a model prisoner, teaching literacy classes and working in victim services. Perhaps he's finally learned the value of helping others instead of exploiting them. But I don't spend much time thinking about Trevor anymore. My focus is on the future. The young agents we're training, the clients we're serving, the industry standards we're setting. The best revenge wasn't destroying Trevor Kane. It was becoming everything he pretended to be, but with integrity. It was proving that nice people don't finish last. They build empires that last forever. Sometimes betrayal isn't the end of your story. Sometimes it's just the beginning of a better one.